Hey, everybody. Welcome to the AJC podcast. And man, this one is probably definitely going to be an amazing one because the things that we had to go through behind the scenes to get started was a challenge. But nonetheless, that's entrepreneurship, right? Is life gives you lemons, you still make lemonade. And we have none other than Julian Crafton on, and she is absolutely amazing, doing some amazing things. So welcome to the AJC podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here, super thankful. And yeah, what is it? Disruption always follows intention, I think is how it goes. So
Disruption always follows intention. Yes, I love that quote. Shout out to Myron Golden for sure. Yes. Awesome. Well, let's dive right in. Take me back. When did you realize that you didn't want to go the traditional path and that you wanted to take the entrepreneur route? How did we get here?
Well, both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My father was a builder, and when the real estate crashed back in the 80s, they both enjoyed cooking. So they thought, great, let's open up a restaurant. And they made a success of both. And so they were really good mentors for me growing up. And I love the business aspect of it. And it was always exciting, and they always allowed me to be involved in the business piece of it. I had to work my way up, from doing dishing, bussing tables and all that kind of stuff. My father had went back to building after probably 5 or 6 years. He kind of loved that piece of it, the guys, the camaraderie, his crew, and building and real estate had come back. So he did that. And it's just seeing them, the struggles and the successes that they had. It was just really inspiring. And that's what always kind of drove me to it. Even though I have worked for corporations, I've ran other people's companies before. But in 2019, my husband and I decided that, you know what, we need to do this for ourselves. We make so much money for other people. And yes, we made money, but not as much as what you can do and the freedom that entrepreneurship provides. Not to mention the satisfaction, it's not always winning, right? Because there are things you're not learning if you're not failing. And so, there's always things that you go through as an entrepreneur, but that's what really inspired me, seeing my parents do it and watching them go through it. And they put in many years of hard work. They had restaurants for like 20 years, and that's 365, 24/7. And it was just, I loved it. I love the business. Doesn't matter what industry it is. And it's what really, I think, brought me the sort of courageous spirit to step out on your own, because it's scary.
Yes.
You got to stay out of your comfort zone. You cannot, because you can't grow if you're not doing it. And growing pains are there and called that for a reason, because growing is painful, especially when you're growing as a person, as a business person, as an entrepreneur, mother, father, sister, wife, whatever it is. Growing pains are painful, but you are better off for it, I think.
Yes. And I'm glad you shared that because it's so true. I can remember my mentor, Nate, and I was waiting tables back at this time, probably like 2018. And he's like, man, take out a piece of paper. He's like, draw a circle. And he said, outside of that circle, I want you to draw everything that you want. New house, dream vacation, family, like all of these things. And he's like, and inside this circle, I want you to put the word me. Right. And I did that. And so, you know what else I want you to put inside that circle? Comfort zone. And it goes, you know what? Everything that you want in life is outside of your comfort zone. And so if you want to have success, you're going to have to do things and get uncomfortable. And that's when I realized that I was like, I had to find a new mission. And so I'm glad you said that, because all growth happens outside of your comfort zone. And then going back to the entrepreneurship journey, right? That's such an amazing story. I can remember my mom, she's working as a nurse, working double shifts to try to make ends meet. And what really that taught me now, that's hindsight in 2020, is it showed me the power of hard work and what taking action could do, right? Because nothing can pretty much stop you. You're an unstoppable force. You just need to create momentum and continue to go. And so again, that's going to come with some failure. It's going to come with some setbacks. It's going to come, mentor, he said that it's going to cost more, it's going to take longer, and it's going to be harder than you thought. Right. And so what you got to do is you got to keep going. And that's when I found myself in 2018 in the restaurant industry. I was like, man, I needed to have more impact than what I was doing. Sure, I was making people happy. Yes, I was impacting people's lives, but it was on such a small scale. And I wanted to make a bigger impact. I wanted more for myself. And that's why I was like, I needed to get into entrepreneurship and I needed to find a mentor.
Yeah.
So, so let's transition into talking to that mentorship, which is a very important piece because, intention is always followed by disruption, right? And my goal has been my digital mentor. It kind of helped me to start producing more content and just really sharing myself uniquely. So, what is your thoughts on mentorship and having the right guidance and the right help?
I think it's a must. Okay, so when I was a child, so I'm the youngest out of five. My older brothers and sisters are 14, 15, 16 years older than I am. My dad always joked that those were from his first wife. Well, he only had one wife, so it was they just had a little bit of a gap in between my sister and I, and then the rest of the kids. And so, but when you look at, I was taught you go to school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a house, you get a job, that kind of thing. And that's great. And I love it. But that traditional methodology doesn't work. First of all, you don't learn in college or even in high school or middle school and elementary school what you need to be as a successful person, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're working for somebody else, right? They don't give you those tools anymore. And it's been like that for a very long time. And so as you grow, you have to learn from somebody, right? And there's lots of people that they did it themselves and they struggled and they made it and they're successful. And that is really, really like an amazing thing to accomplish. But when you look at how do you do it smart, emulation of somebody that has and does everything that you want in life, why not? You can still make it your own. You're not just copying somebody, but you're taking their road path, just like we do as parents. That our children are grown now. We have grandchildren. I wanted my children to learn from my mistakes, right? That's what you want as a parent. And so as mentors or somebody that is looking for a mentor, why not learn from those mistakes? Because you're going to get farther. You're going to get there faster. You're going to get there. You're going to make your own mistakes still, but you're going to get there in a much more foundation is going to be stronger. Your agility, your ability to pivot, because you have the knowledge and wealth of somebody that has been there, done that, and has done it, successfully and gone through all of the roadblocks and stops and potholes that we each, encounter on a daily basis. So you have to, you can do it without a mentor. You can go alone and you're going to go fast, but you're not going to go far. And really, as a mentor or as somebody that I've used mentors and had them and they became friends, they became family, they became all of that, you get there because you have somebody to bounce those ideas off of. It's not just what you know in your limited sight distance. You get to see what their experiences have been and learn from that. And you're going to be a stronger, better, and more powerful person in any business or industry and space that you're in if you're learning from somebody else. And not every mentor is perfect, and they're all coming in and out of your life in seasons, but you're going to gain that foundation and all of what they did, and you're just absorbing it. And then you're using it as part of your toolbox in order to succeed.
Yeah, so true. And my philosophy on school isn't that school is bad, right, or as an institution, but it's also not the perfect fit for everybody. And I feel like everybody learns differently. And,
Mhm.
and as I was coming up, there was just like this one box that you're put in, and that's why I struggled in school a lot, because it was freaking boring. It's a lot of useless information. I can remember taking world religion and like social studies about learning about all this other stuff that I'm never ever going to use, and it was boring.
Yeah.
And that's why I fell in love with the online education space, because you could learn a specific thing from a specific person that had what you didn't have, right? It's kind of like a digital trade university, right? Like
Yeah.
before, if you want to be a plumber, you go to a trade school. Now if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be a photographer, if you want to be anything, like there's a place for you to go seek out someone who's already done what you want to do, and you can learn from them digitally
Yeah.
and get the result that you're looking to get. And what I found is that most people, if they're interested in something, right, like they always have more success.
Yes.
When you're interested in something, it gives you that excitement, that the night before Christmas type of feeling that you can't
Passion.
even sleep. You can't even wait till the sun to come up so that you can get back to it. And that's what I found in entrepreneurship is I fell in love with the impact that I was making. I fell in love with the thing that I was learning was impacting me to growth, my earning potential, but then I could also implement those things and put them to use. So it was impacting other people. And I was like, oh, I immediately got addicted to entrepreneurship in that fashion because I could see what I learned turned into a result very, very quickly. And the last piece of that is nowadays, education just being one way. We're still teaching things from 100 years ago when it was put in place. But more importantly, if you spend 4 years doing something nowadays with AI, in 4 years, unless it's in a medical profession, which the human body probably won't change, the thing that you learned in 4 years may not even be obsolete, or the thing that you were learning to do may be being used by AI at some point. And so I feel like there's just has to be some gray area in regards to just one way to learn. It has to be multiple ways to get there. And I just remember one of my teachers just scarred me for sure, which was if you didn't show the work the way that they did it and you got the answer, you got the problem wrong.
Yes.
I,
Even if you had the right answer. Yeah.
even if you had the right answer,
Mhm.
if you didn't do the work the way they said it was wrong.
And there's so many different ways to get to the same answer and the end result, right? So why is your way the best? And I think people like you and I who ask questions and, instead, I want to see the big picture and then where do I want to go? And then I want to be able to choose the path that I want to get, to get there, right? And it sounds like you were the same way with that.
Yes, for sure. So let's talk about the impact. My mentor says money changes hands when problems are solved, right? And so if you want to help people, you have to start with a problem. So what problem did you decide that you wanted to pick up the sword or crusade to fight for, to solve for people?
Well, for us, the main problem comes down to making money while you sleep, right? That's what every person, and not even just entrepreneurs, want to be able to accomplish. And Warren Buffett kind of hit the nail on the head when he was like, you need to figure out how you can make money while you sleep. And especially in today's world with the cost of everything and inflation, and you used to be able to have a family and only one person working. You only needed one car, you only needed this, and now you can't do that. Our children and myself coming up, I had to work in the home, and I wasn't able to just stay home and raise my children. And I miss those years, and I feel bad about it. I can't go back and change it, but I can help our children and our clients change it for them, right? So we didn't reinvent the wheel. We just simply made um, ways and very old ways of buying and selling products available for people in a normal life to be able to have an e-commerce arm to whatever store, or maybe they don't even have a store. They can sell other people's products. They don't just have to sell their own. And in 2008 was my first experience in e-commerce. And it was turned into be extremely successful because I took to it. It made complete sense to me. I wanted to buy products at the best cost and sell them at a good profit without, raking customers and people over the coals, but just consistency and moving in it. So we've spent the last 20 years honing our craft, developing our team, creating a massive network of manufacturers and distributors, not just here in the United States, but globally. I've been able to travel and create all these relationships. But to your point, it's got to be a win-win, right? So 50% of our business is distributors, manufacturers. The other 50% are clients. And we bring those two things together to be able to create that revenue stream for our clients.
Gotcha. And so if somebody's looking at this like e-commerce is great, like you know, they kind of come out of this wanting to have a service or a product. What are some of the first steps that someone needs to make in order to kind of cross that barrier, just to like take an initial action?
So I guess the first is decide, do you want to sell your own products or do you want to sell somebody else's?
Why is that important?
Well, you need to, if you're going to sell your own product, just like what you're talking about, is you have to figure out what is the pain point, right? Is there a better mousetrap that I know enough about to be able to build or develop? And or do I have a brand that really catches on to people and sells really well? It's a positivity brand, it's clothing, it's this, that, and the other thing. Maybe it's just a better, coffee cup, for instance. You have now coffee cups are 50, 60, dollars a piece if you want to have a Yeti or a Stanley or whatever they are. And that's a real decision. And so if you just want to sell other people's products, that's great. Then you need to figure out, hey, who do I know that is a manufacturer or a distributor for products, and how can I get the rights and permissions to be able to sell them online? So whether it's an Amazon, a Walmart, TikTok shop, your own Shopify store, or your own website, to be able to build that. First of all, it's my passion that every single business in the entire world, the only one I haven't been able to figure it out is gas stations yet, but everybody else really needs an e-commerce arm, even if you're a service-based business, right? So for example, for your podcast, you should be selling swag, you should be selling digital products of
Come on.
your teachings and all of that. But that is an e-commerce arm that people just don't really think about, but it adds an additional revenue stream without creating a huge amount of overhead for you, right?
Yes.
So, and you create it once and then you sell it on an evergreen platform for the forever and ever, right? Everything that's digital lasts forever and ever, as long as the internet lasts, and anybody around the world can access it as long as they have internet. And let me tell you, internet comes in the places that you may not think is even there.
Yes.
So I've
That's
had
so
people.
true. And again, the entrepreneurship mind, like you just gave me a whole word right there. And it's like, you need to have some swag, you need to be selling something. And again, it's like you don't that I just didn't even think about it. I knew that, but I didn't like, oh, I need to also, right? And so that's something that I definitely need to put on the list. But so for e-commerce, what I'm curious, what is kind of the most random or the strangest product that you've seen someone sell that's had some success?
So almost all of our products, I do not, I stay away from jewelry. I stay away from clothing unless it's a private label brand or a personal brand, right? I stay away from shoes. I stay away from jewelry and like cell phones and computers, right? I don't sell those products. Most of our products are in niches that are people use every day, but you don't think about, right? We have a very large range of aftermarket machine parts, whether they're on road or off road, ATV, UTV, tractor, bulldozer, you name it, right? And I'm a girly girl, but listen, I've done a lot of work and worked with a lot of manufacturers globally about bull gears and carburetors and flywheels and steering wheels and fenders. But then we also sell sewing machines or honey from Hungary or, oh gosh, a huge pet space. So everything from supplements to toys to pet clothing, because there's a lot of generations that they don't have children, whether intentionally or not intentionally, and their animals or their pets, their companions have become their children. So it's a pretty massive space. I would say, I mean, O-rings, right? I mean, just stuff that is really, really random that you wouldn't think, but those are also the most profitable because we buy products or advise our clients to have products bought for them based on the demand and not the brand. So I'm not looking to go out and get the Nike contract. Do people do it? Absolutely. That's just not what our space is about. And what I've learned, I don't buy products based on what I like or what I buy. I buy products based on what everybody else buys and really looking at the hard look at the data long before we look to purchase anything.
Yeah, and that's so good. And the reason why I asked that question was just because people are like, I don't know what to sell. And it's like you could pretty much sell anything. If somebody's already buying it, then
Yes.
that's the first place to look. But just the most random things, right? That people are selling. And
Pucks is a big one for us.
what was that?
Hockey pucks. We do a
Hockey pucks.
yeah, off ice hockey pucks. We do a fair gosh, probably 100,000 or more a year in those.
Off ice hockey pucks.
Yes, yes.
Interesting. Never even seen one of those before. I might have seen one, but I'm not sure. But that my whole point of that is like you should have some e-commerce and internet selling mechanism portion of any type of business that you have. Again,
Yes.
because it's how you, like you said, you can make money in your sleep.
Ye-
And if you don't learn to make money while you're asleep, you'll work until you're dead.
Yes, those are the two guarantees in life, right? Death and taxes. And those
Yes.
are things I can't change, but I do a few other guarantees for things that I can control. But those are the ones that I don't have the ability to change, and nor do I think I ever will. And that's okay. That's okay. So.
So what are a couple things? So if somebody's like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm nervous, I'm not really gung ho about failing a ton, I want to get started. What are a couple things made simple for e-commerce that I need to get right in order to see some success rather quickly?
So first of all of our clients, you can literally make money within 30 days from start to, finish in that 30-day time period. So we have multiple packages that we offer for clients depending on what their like inventory budget is, speaking in just a revenue producing entity, right? But first and foremost, as an entrepreneur looking to bootstrap it and run it yourself, you want to pick the right platform for you, right? So each of the platforms are all different. TikTok Shop is different from Amazon, and it's different from Walmart, it's different from eBay. And we make many, 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 many millions of dollars across all of them, but they're different. And so you need to understand what the differences are. We've connected and built together software in order for us to run client stores within one centralized place, right? So it's a connector basically. And then even our distributors and manufacturers, we connect to our clients directly in the back office of their stores through EDI or API connections, right? You don't have to do all of that or go to that. You can start small, but start by, okay, what am I selling? So that's a really key piece. And then what's the best platform to sell it on, right? So anything that is Gen Z, in TikTok Shop, you have low fees. There's absolutely no monthly fees to those. You have a flat 5%, and it's 1.5% in the first 90 days. And then after 90, it's a flat 5% fees that they take. So very, very low fees. And you don't have to post videos and all that kind of stuff. You literally just have to put the products in your store, and they take up to 100 a day in order to do that. That's a great platform for a small amount of products if you don't have large quantity of different types of products, right? So that you can manage all of that by yourself. Amazon is the biggest marketplace, lion's share of the $7.4 trillion industry every single year, and it's been growing 12 to 20% year over year. And so Amazon is really good, but they are also very, very strict when it comes to you have to be an A+ student. You have to know your store metrics. You have to know your shipping, your customer communication. Um, your products need to be validated and make sure that you have invoice chain of command all the way back to the manufacturer, or you have permissions, letters of authorization, in order to, you have to supply that to Amazon through the ungating process. But that's $39.99 a month. And after you sell $10,000, you have to have insurance on that, which isn't expensive, but you have to know all these things and pick out, okay, what is the best platform for me to launch and sell my products on? eBay is still in the top 3. Walmart is still really, really strong. But again, there's specifics about each one of those. You need to anticipate doing advertising if you're on Walmart. You need to anticipate doing eBay advertising if you're only on eBay. Amazon, you don't have to do advertising because organically you can play with the keywords and the SEO and the optimization of your listing and products, or jump on another listing that somebody else is already selling, provided you have the same product. and can verify that, that is already selling and the BSR is really low. So it can go very, very well for you. And TikTok Shop has one of the most unique algorithms out of all the platforms. And but so you can do really, really well as an individual. I know a 14-year-old before
Mm,
TikTok put some restrictions in place. And by the time that that young man turned 19, he was able to move out of his parents' house and buy his own home in Florida,
mm,
just off TikTok.
wow.
So
Right.
come on.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, as we start to wrap up, I'm curious. They say, well, when's the best time to plant a tree is yesterday, and then the second best time is today. So, what are people that's like, oh man, all the things that you said about Amazon, it seems like they may have missed the boat, right? And knowing what you know now, what would you say to somebody that's like, oh, they've been trying to get in, but they've been on the fence, and they're just curious to see if they missed the opportunity or not. What would you say to those people?
So it's the same thing as becoming or being or wanting to have an entrepreneur, lifestyle and working it. You can talk about it, but that doesn't make it happen. That
Mm,
just gives you a dream, right?
come on.
But you have to actually take the steps and do it. And it's never too late to start. My mother is turning 81 this year, and she just wrote her first book and she launched it on Amazon. Now, I may have helped her with some of the technology, but she did it and did it very, very successfully. Um, the interesting part to the whole situation is you can always start, but you have to take the first step and you have to do it now. So connect with us on Instagram or on our website, set up the appointment and take the action because knowledge is power. The application of knowledge is the real power behind everything. And so you
Yes.
have to take that first step. You have to connect with somebody if you're unsure. And we have mentorship programs, and we also have actual packages where we do the be your service provider and do the work for you as well. So
Yeah. And man, there's so many gems in there. And so the same school of thought, I can see that we're on the same wavelength with that, is that nowadays nobody has an excuse because we don't have an information problem. Now we have an implementation problem, which is there's so much information, people are getting bogged down by making decisions that they don't make a decision. But
yeah,
the only decision that you need to do is you need to pick something and you need to get started. You'll know faster, right? Even
yep,
if you're going in the wrong direction, Jim Rome said, you'll know faster and sooner, and you'll probably still get there faster than the person that's still gathering information. And so this has been absolutely phenomenal. If somebody's watching this and they're like, man, I love everything that you're talking about. I'm so interested in where can I just get more of you? Where can they follow you? But where can they just discover to go deeper with you? Where can they connect with you?
absolutely. So you can go to our website, which is jjcunlimited.com. You can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube at Julian Crafton, and also jjcunlimited.com. So, yeah, don't let the start stop you. Take the initiative. And I love what you said that it is not an information, it's an implementation problem. And that is definitely the key.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey guys, I hope you got a ton of value from having Julianne on. This was absolutely amazing. I learned enough, also got inspired, and it gave me something to do, which is I need to get some swag going, and I promise you'll see some up here soon. But again, Julianne, thank you so much for being on the AJC podcast. It was absolutely fantastic.
Thank you. It was a real pleasure. I appreciate it.
For sure. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next episode. Go ahead and subscribe to the show. We'll see you guys soon.